A brief Linux history and why Linux is used by everyone, even if they don't know it. Hello everyone, my name is Atanas and I'm starting a series of videos to present different Linux features through Manjaro, one of its top Arch Linux-based distributions. I start with the history of how practically everyone uses Linux, even if they don't know about it. The company's logos you see on screen all use Linux, and anyone using their products uses it indirectly every day. Especially if you have an Android smartphone, you use it all the time. I recently released a book for beginners and intermediate users called the Manjaro Linux User Guide, and this video is partially based on it. I will tell more about it at the end and leave links in the description or comments. The slides I created I've shared also on LinkedIn, and you can find my profile there as well. Linux is the best operating system kernel. It and the GNU tools are also the most famous free and open source software. Linux runs on any type of computer device, but most people just don't know it. You can live without a Mac, an iPhone, a PC or a Windows device, but without Linux, half the internet and half the smart devices would have never existed. Let me tell you why, and we will then briefly explore Linux history. First, let's see what is a distribution. Linux by itself is an operating system kernel. In a car, the equivalent would be the engine. For a complete car, we would also need a chassis, tires, a wheel, doors, seats, a frame, a trunk, and so on. Equally, if we have the knowledge, parts and tools, we can build a whole operating system with the Linux kernel, which we call a distribution. Now let's explore how Linux-based distributions are used. The first thing every person uses is internet web pages. A significant portion of the internet's web servers, websites, and cloud services are powered by Linux thanks to its reliability, security, efficiency, and scalability. Some of the biggest companies that are officially using it are Google, Amazon, Facebook, Wikipedia, and PayPal. Beyond these, Linux operates on IoT devices, networking equipment, embedded devices, supercomputers, old hardware, microcomputers, real-time systems, automotive devices, the Tesla autopilot, and many others. So again, millions of devices used by the majority of the world. The Android operating system is built upon the Linux kernel, making it the most widely used Linux-based system globally. Again, this means billions of users worldwide. You probably know that apart from smartphones, it runs on tablets, wearables, smart TVs, home appliances, TV boxes, and cars. In conclusion, the only people who don't use Linux are those living in total isolation. Practically all people use at least a few Linux-based systems every day. Hundreds of millions use them directly when loading web content, use their Android mobile phone, smart TV, and others. To add, since 2018, all the top 500 supercomputers use Linux. Again, this is thanks to its efficiency, stability, scalability, and open source nature. Check out the top500.org website. They monitor them all. Another essential characteristic is its top security. The data of billions of social platforms users relies on this. The Linux security features include top user privilege management, minimal exposure to viruses and malware, and the kernel integrated network filtering framework. The kernel also provides encryption capabilities, separates the operating system and user memory, and has virtualization and isolation features. Interesting fact, if you Google how to hack Windows, there are thousands of articles and videos on this. Do the same for Linux, FreeBSD or Unix, no such resources exist. These are all quite hard to hack, otherwise people would write about it. In addition, whatever vulnerability is found, it is usually fixed ASAP. All the big companies work on this 24/7 to ensure no data will be stolen. Another reason for the ubiquitous spread of Linux is that it is open source. Together with the GNU tools and FreeBSD Unix, these projects exist for over 30 years and anyone can use, modify, and distribute the improvements. As the GNU tools are an inseparable part from all Linux distributions, each is marked as GNU/Linux. As we explained, a distribution combines the Linux operating system kernel with the GNU tools and a lot of additional software. We have over 230 distributions. This means thousands of people create, support, and develop 230 operating systems for free. How many millions of users should they have so that this whole ecosystem exists and makes sense to be developed? If nobody uses them, nobody will develop. Instead, businesses earning billions of dollars yearly are supported by this. I will soon make another video presenting the companies that make this brutal amount of money, short and precise, with numbers. Another reason for the development, usage and spread of Linux is that no Linux-based operating system spies on its users. Most only report occasionally the thousands and millions of downloads they have each month. Why else hundreds of international business giants would use it for their servers? Linux is scalable for any platform, from the tiniest devices to the biggest supercomputers. It is free to modify as you wish, including for commercial products. It is the most scalable operating system kernel on Earth. It all started in Finland when Linus Torvalds created it in 1991 as a hobby project while he was a student. Now, let's briefly look at its history. In 1983, Richard Stallman created the GNU Foundation to popularize free and open source software, or FOSS. GNU stands for GNU is not Unix, and this distinction was because Unix and other kinds of reliable software were proprietary, closed, and expensive. In 1984, the work on GNU started. In 1985, the Free Software Foundation was established. In 1989, the GNU Foundation was the first organization to establish a public free software license called the GNU General Public License, or GPL. Nowadays, we have tens of licenses. The 5 most widely used are GPL 2 and 3 and their variants, Apache, Mozilla, BSD, and MIT. The GNU collection of free tools grew, but lacked a kernel and an operating system. Thus, when Linus Torvalds created the free Linux kernel in 1991, a group of developers combined it with the free GNU tools and later created the first 2 Linux distributions, Slackware in July 1993 and Debian in September 1993. Since day one, it has been available to anyone who wants to join the projects, revealing 100% of the knowledge. The number of enthusiasts grew fast and steadily. As a result, thousands of people have contributed to these projects for free in the last 30 years, and they continue to do so. To continue with a few exciting dates, in 1994, the Red Hat and SUSE Linux projects were started. In 1995, Linux was ported to 𝗃𝗃𝗃 and the Sun Spark workstations. Also in 1995, Red Hat had its first official release. In 1996, the Linux kernel 2.0 was released, adding symmetric multiprocessing support. In 1996, the XFC and KDE Plasma desktop projects were started. In 1998, IBM, Compaq, and Oracle publicly announced Linux support, and Netscape released its code as free and open source. 1998 was also the year when the first supercomputer with Linux was made. The GNOME project started in 1999. Arch Linux started in 2002. In 2003, Fedora inherited Red Hat Linux as an open source project. Ubuntu, based on Debian, was created in 2004. In 2011, Manjaro was started based on Arch. Finally, as you already know, since 2018, all supercomputers are based on Linux. My next video will be on how open source drives revenues for billions. Soon enough, I also plan to release more videos on Linux and Manjaro, which will be shared directly from my book. If you like what I do, hit the like button, comment, subscribe and follow. If you want to learn Linux, the Manjaro Linux User Guide book starts with the basics, explains installation, and then covers all common topics a beginner may need. We have in it editions overview, help, online resources, and officially supported software with all main categories: Office, imaging, audio, video, text editors, gaming, and others. The second part ends with an excellent terminal primer, which will teach you easily and with examples how to work with all essential command line tools. The book then covers package management, dependencies, environment variables, file system basics, storage, mounting, and encryption. Its following chapters detail the network and internet fundamentals, firewalls and VPNs, providing you with the best security on Earth. For those who want advanced stuff, the last part explains services, processes, systemd, user management, cleanup, troubleshooting, and scripting. The detailed table of contents and some free content are on a link in the description or comments to this video. If you know people who might like or benefit from it, send it to them. And again, if you like what I do, help me by hitting the like button and commenting. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you next time!